Okay, so I want to start by saying the title is not a clickbait. Kinda. I mean, obviously it kinda is, but I still want to share some tips on how to make your art better, and I hope they will be helpful. Before anyone says anything, English is not my first language, so my accent is not that great probably. I'm working on it and I will get better, I promise. So now, let's start with making the quote-unquote bad drawing. Again, before anyone says anything, if you draw that way and don't want to change, that's okay. You do you can do whatever you want. Please don't get mad at me. Thanks. I based it on how I used to draw like 6 years ago, and now I will get to some things that are wrong with it and how I improved them. The first one would be chicken scratching or whatever it is called. I don't even know. I just heard it somewhere. But if you don't know what that is, it's basically when someone is not confident in their line work, so they usually make a lot of shorter lines instead of long, clean ones. This will make everything look messy and like fur, basically. So here's a comparison between that and a drawing where the lines actually look clean. I feel like you can tell which one looks better and more professional, let's say. So now, on how to improve. First, try to do some simple exercises to make your lines more confident. And by simple, I mean really simple. Just get a paper and fill it in with the longest lines you can make in one single stroke. Do it fast, so instead of looking like this, it will look like this. It might seem useless, but I promise this really makes a difference. So now, let's get to another issue with our line work, which is line weight, or more specifically, the lack of any difference in it. As you can see, everything is drawn the same way. The liner to the hair is as thick as the face. This can make your art look kinda boring and less dimensional, let's say that. Now, on how to improve. Just make some of your lines thicker and other thinner. That's all, basically. I would recommend thinking about where the shadows will be and adding stronger lines accordingly. For example, like under the chin, or the edges, or in some other parts of the hair. Basically something like that. So now, let's get to shading. As you can see on the original drawing, the shadows, if you can even call them that, are just made using an airbrush in mostly one color. Shading with an airbrush is not a bad thing in itself. I personally really like using it. The problem is when all of your shadows are made that way. It just makes everything look soft and not really in a good way. The thing is that shadows vary, so not everything will be as blended and smooth. Using references can really help with that, as then you will be able to see how it actually looks in real life and draw accordingly. And the last thing, highlights. Here they are just white blobs used in random places where they don't really do anything besides hurting the eyes. The purpose of highlights is to make your drawing look more 3D and make some places brighter or shinier than others. And just like the shading part, using references can really help. When we went over the most basic tips, let's get to actually fixing the drawing. The first thing I did was changing the anatomy. This is still a stylish drawing, and I'm not an expert by any means, so it's still not perfect. I hope no one comes for me for that. I'm just trying to teach the things that I know. I'm not a professional, sorry. But even then, I think you can tell it looks much better. I gave the face a more natural shape, made the shoulders and neck bigger and the eyes smaller. I also gave the hair more volume. It's not exactly an anatomical thing, or at least I don't think so, but now it looks more natural and less like a stiff cardboard cutout. Even after just these small changes, you can already see the improvement, or at least I hope so. And again, I will probably say this many more times, looking at references will help. Almost every single style is somehow based on real life, so seeing and understanding how actual people look and are built will make a great difference. And it's basically the reason why a lot of artists, before developing their style, were practicing realism. So that was the first step in fixing this drawing. But obviously we are still not done. And now on to the worst and longest part, which is rendering. And to be honest, during this process it's quite hard to say what exactly I'm doing, because I don't even know. I just try to make first more natural and 3D kind of looking. However, I do have one advice that really helped me, and this was watching makeup tutorials. I know this may seem silly at first, but hear me out. Watching how people do their makeup made me do the same things to my drawings. Because where you normally add highlighter, blush, contour, etc., is where lights, shadows actually are on a normal person. For example, like the tip of the nose, or cheekbones, or just cheeks for the blush. This is basically the same thing as studying the planes of the face, which is really helpful too, and probably more helpful than whatever I'm saying, but I just feel like following makeup tutorials is easier and makes your art look more natural. I hope so. By adding makeup, we want our faces to look as sculpted as possible, so why not use this while drawing? Like I said, it's quite hard for me to say exactly what I'm doing and give out any tips because it would take way too long, and I'm planning to make tutorials on specific things like eyes, mouth, etc. So wait for that, I hope I will make them. Now I will just leave the speed paint playing here and come back for some final thoughts. This is how our drawing looks like fixed and finished. Wow, yeah! This video was really broad. I didn't give out any specific advice basically, but I feel like the ones I did give were kind of helpful if you're just starting out and want to change the most basic things about your drawing. It was my first tutorial and my first video of my voice basically ever, so the quality is not that good. I'm not a professional by any means, like I said, and I'm not even scripting the last part, so it's kind of messy. But like, that's basically the end. I hope my advice helped at least one person. And yeah, if this will get some views, I will make other tutorials. I don't know.